What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, June 22nd, 2024, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:34 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Lebanon. So, what you're looking at here is video footage coming out of Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon. And you can see this airport here packed with people trying to flee Lebanon ahead of this massive war that's about to start between Israel and Hezbollah, which could just be hours or days away. We also have some breaking news that Israel has started to deploy major infantry and armored forces to the border of Lebanon. This is being reported by Ynet News. And we're hearing that planes are leaving the Beirut International Airport every few minutes. Okay, so this is absolutely insane. And when this war kicks off, I will be live streaming 24/7 to cover this. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you have the notifications turned on, make sure you're following me on Telegram and Twitter. And Kuwait has announced that they're going to be increasing the number of flights to Beirut to bring some of their citizens back to Kuwait. And this comes after Canada announced yesterday that they were preparing to evacuate 45,000 Canadians that live in Lebanon. And Haaretz News is reporting that Israel is about to end their operations in Gaza to focus on their war in Lebanon. And CNN is reporting that U.S. officials reassured top Israeli officials that if a full-out war were to break out between Israel and Hezbollah, the Biden administration is fully prepared to back its ally. And Israel has informed the U.S. that it will start its attack on the southern part of Lebanon through the ground under the cover of intense airstrikes. This was reported by CNN. So they're going to be doing massive airstrikes, and they're going to also be doing a ground operation as well, very similar to what they did in Gaza. But the airstrikes are going to be much more massive because Hezbollah has thousands and thousands of artillery units that can do a lot of damage to Israel. So Israel's going to have to neutralize all those artillery units. And it's very likely that the U.S. and Great Britain will be involved in the air campaign. It could be something similar to shock and awe in Iraq in the early 2000s. Could be like 2 to 3 days of just bombing all these artillery units to neutralize them so they don't devastate Israel. And American sources told Sky News Arabia that the USS Eisenhower, the aircraft carrier, is now on its way to the Eastern Mediterranean on a mission to support any military operations that may be imposed by developments between Lebanon and Israel. And this comes a day after it was announced that the Eisenhower was leaving the theater to go home to Norfolk, Virginia. And the Teddy Roosevelt aircraft carrier, which is currently in Asia, is going to head to the Red Sea. Guys, gold has been on an unstoppable run. It has gone up more than 81% in the last 5 years and almost 20% in the last 12 months. It is happening. Central banks are ditching the dollar and U.S. treasuries and buying more gold. The good news is that it's predicted to go up even more. UBS even said it would go up to $5,000 an ounce. Noble Gold Investments phone has been ringing nonstop. Everyone wants to protect their retirement with gold, and you can do the same. Noble Gold Investments can help you secure some gold to protect your future. From day one, you will work with the same dedicated all-American expert. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced investor, Noble Gold Investments will make sure you get all the help you need. And this month, Noble Gold Investments will give you a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin if you open a qualified account. go to noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below and in the comments. Check them out. Get that free quarter-ounce gold coin to replace the Eisenhower's role in the Red Sea. So what's happening is the Eisenhower is currently stationed in the Red Sea to deal with the Houthis. They're going to be moving the Eisenhower close to Israel now. And instead of the Eisenhower taking care of the Red Sea area, we're going to have the Roosevelt replace it there, okay? And the U.S. promised Israel that they would deliver any aid needed if a war breaks out with Hezbollah. Senior U.S. government officials promised Israel that if an all-out war breaks out in the north with Hezbollah, the U.S. is ready to stand behind Israel and provide it with all the security assistance it needs. CNN reported from a senior official in the U.S. administration that despite this, the U.S. does not intend to send its own troops and will not actively participate in the conflict. Yeah, I don't believe that. According to the report, the American promise was conveyed to Israel at a meeting held by the Minister of Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, and the head of the National Security Council, Chachi Hanegbi, in Washington this week. So this is going to be a huge situation, guys, because Iran and the Taliban have already said they're going to attack Israel if this happens. And we're now hearing that the forces of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan are all ready to join Hezbollah to fight against Israel. So all the proxy forces in the Middle East are going to unite, including the Taliban and Iran, and they're going to attack Israel. So there's going to be a massive escalation from this, okay? And a delegation from the Cyprus Intelligence Service, led by its deputy director, arrived earlier today in Beirut in order to meet with the Director General of Lebanese General Security, Major General Elias al-Baisari, as well as several other senior Lebanese officials. During the meeting, the threat recently made by Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah was discussed, as well as the possibility of escalation in the region. So the leader of Hezbollah threatened to launch rockets at Cyprus if Cyprus opens up its airfields to Israel and coalition forces that are attacking Hezbollah. And Iranian intelligence apparently warned Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, that Israel plans to eliminate him and that he is not safe in Lebanon. This was reported by the Arab newspaper Al Anba, and senior officers from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps suggested that Nasrallah and his family leave Lebanon and find refuge in Iran, which is very possible that that's going to happen. Hopefully, Israel can eliminate him first. Reports in Lebanon of an Israeli attack in the area of the coastal city of Sidon in southern Lebanon, and Hezbollah fired anti-tank missiles at the Israeli town of Metula. And Iran hijacked two Airbus A340 planes from Lithuania. The aircraft were mid-air diverted to Iran instead of going to Sri Lanka and the Philippines as planned. The Lithuanian authorities do not know how Iran pulled this off, so Iran stole two planes from Lithuania. And last night, we had some very concerning flight activity over Poland, and it's not the kind that you would normally think is concerning. So we have some military cargo planes here that landed in the Powice Air Base in northwest Poland. Now, Powice is the most advanced NATO air base in Poland, and that air base hosted U.S. F-22s, including a B-2 stealth bomber, B-52s, B-1s, all of NATO's and America's most advanced aircraft used the Powice Air Base in western Poland. So two C-5 Galaxies landed in Powice late last night. Now, the C-5 Galaxy is the heaviest lift plane that the U.S. military has. It can carry 130 tons, I believe, of cargo, or 170 tons, something like that. So it can carry the most amount of stuff of any plane in the U.S. military, okay? And two of these giant planes landed at Povids late last night. So this means that something is brewing here in the Baltic region, and the U.S. is rapidly moving massive amounts of equipment into the theater. Now, if this equipment was for Ukraine, then they would not have landed in Povids. They would have landed in Rzeszów, which is the city in southeastern Poland where all the NATO equipment flows through into Ukraine. So this equipment is meant for probably Poland or some other NATO allies like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, or Finland. Okay. But the fact that they landed at Poland's most advanced airbase, a NATO airbase in Povids, where F-22s were stationed and a B-2 landed there one time, is a huge red flag. It means something is about to go down. We also had two C-17s land in Ramstein late last night as well. So the U.S. is sending military equipment into Europe, massive amounts. Like I said, those C-5 Galaxies can carry over 100 tons of equipment. Okay, so that is a massive amount of equipment that they just sent to Poland for some reason. Also, late last night, we had a Russian Special Flight Squadron plane take off from the city of Brest in southwest Belarus, which is just a few miles from the Polish border. And this is the area where Russia has like 30,000 troops stationed, and also they have set up S-400 missile defense systems here and probably Iskander missiles to launch into Poland if necessary. So this is a heavily militarized area that this Russian Special Flight Squadron plane left from, and it went to Russia, mainland Russia, landed in Moscow. So some VIP was in Brest and left late last night. Could have been the Russian Minister of Defense, could have been some Russian generals, but this is very, very serious. And we know that a couple of days ago, a Russian Ministry for Emergency Situations plane landed in Minsk, okay? And the Ministry for Emergency Situations deals with exactly what you think, emergencies, okay? They move stuff around. So it's possible that war is about to break out here, and this coincides with Belarus announcing an inspection of the readiness of their armed forces. There was a surprise inspection that was announced yesterday. We also had an Uzbekistan Air Force plane land in Belarus at the Osipovichi Air Base, okay? So that is concerning as well. But there was an unannounced inspection of readiness of the Belarusian armed forces starting yesterday. On June 21st, a sudden readiness inspection of formations and military units of the Belarusian armed forces to perform assigned tasks began. This was reported by the Ministry of Defense of Belarus. The inspection involves a wide range of forces and means, including operational commands of the ground forces, missile forces and artillery, special operations forces, as well as the Air Force and Air Defense forces. At the first stage of the inspection, the issues of operational occupation of the assigned areas, their preparation in terms of engineering, organization of guard and defense combat duty will be worked out. Subsequently, the units will fulfill combat training tasks. The inspection will be conducted at training grounds and terrain in Brest and Gomel. Wow. Okay, Gomel is the city in Belarus where Russian forces invaded from to try to reach Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Gomel is just north of the capital of Ukraine. Okay, so Gomel and Brest. So what does that tell me? That tells me that Belarus is getting ready to either attack Ukraine or attack Poland or possibly attack both, okay, at the same time. And the U.S. ordered the closure of Russian visa centers in Washington, D.C. and New York City. And the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, warned that NATO is about to send regular armies into Ukraine. He said NATO will conduct a military mission in Ukraine. Hungary will not participate in it. Hungary will get off the train, but the driver could not be convinced, and now only Trump can stop the train. That's what he said. And Ukrainian officials are saying that Russia conducted a massive attack on their power infrastructure last night, and Zelensky is going to sign an EU-Ukraine security guarantee on June 26th. And the Financial Times is reporting that Ukraine received ammunition from Serbia through third parties. According to the Financial Times, Ukrainian troops have already received Serbian ammunition valued at about €1 billion through intermediaries. The newspaper reports that Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić acknowledges this assessment, although he asserts that Serbia is not involved in Russia's war against Ukraine. So, very interesting. A lot of people think that Serbia is pro-Russia and that the Serbian president is pro-Russia, but actually he's not. He wants Serbia to join the EU. He wants Serbia to be more part of the European community, but he knows that a large portion of the Serbian people are more anti-EU and more pro-Russia, so he's trying to kind of dance between both of them and walk the tightrope, so to speak. But this is a sneaky way for him to support Ukraine. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there to give them €1 billion worth of ammunition. That is huge, guys, especially for a small country like Serbia. So we know that Serbia is actually truly aligned with Europe and Ukraine and not Russia. And Ukrainian forces allegedly hit an air defense system in Belgorod Oblast earlier today. The Ukrainian military allegedly hit a Pantsir S-1 anti-air missile system in the village of Dubovo in Belgorod Oblast, a local media outlet based in the region reported. And a Russian attack in Kharkiv killed 2 people and injured 18 today. And overnight, the Russians launched 4 caliber cruise missiles from the Sea of Azov instead of the Black Sea for the first time ever. And South Korean officials are considering sending 155 millimeter artillery shells and air defense systems to Ukraine, according to Yonhap News. And South Korea apparently has a sizable production capability for both of them, including their domestic medium-range KM-SAM. Okay, so South Korea is going to basically give Ukraine their version of the Patriot missiles, and they're going to send them millions of rounds of artillery. This is huge. So it looks like the walls are closing in on Putin as the world starts to flood Ukraine with air defenses. There's going to be more Patriot missiles going to Ukraine, NASAM systems. South Korea is going to be sending some air defenses. South Korea is going to be sending artillery as well. So I think what's going to happen is Russia's airstrikes that they've been doing the last 2 years are going to basically be not effective at all anymore because of all these air defenses. And then now Ukraine being allowed to strike Russian territory with NATO weapons. I think we're going to see Russia use nukes. Okay, I think we're going to see Russia nuke Ukraine. I hope it doesn't happen. I pray it doesn't happen every night. But that's something we need to be prepared for as Putin starts to feel like he's got no way out of the war. Okay. And we know that the U.S. has basically green-lighted Ukraine to use their weapons in Russia anywhere where Russia is launching cross-border attacks from. And the U.S. and South Korea discussed the war in Ukraine and the supply of weapons from North Korea to Russia. The two sides reaffirmed the importance of a strong alliance between the U.S. and South Korea for global peace, security, and prosperity. And the situation on the Korean Peninsula is continuing to escalate. We already had several incidents, 4 incidents so far in the last 3 weeks or so. We had 3 incidents where North Korean troops tried to cross into South Korea and they were fired upon by the South Korean troops. They fired warning shots. And then there was one incident where a group of North Korean troops tried to cross the border and detonated a minefield, okay, causing a massive amount of casualties. And for the first time, the Armenian parliament has discussed the possibility of Armenia becoming an EU member. During the debate on holding an EU referendum, some MPs brandished EU flags showing that they want to end their relations with Russia and join the EU. So this is huge, guys. And North Korea is building sections of a new wall in several places on the DMZ, which is a violation of the long-standing truce with South Korea. According to CBS News, North Korea has started construction on a wall near its border with South Korea, new satellite imagery shows. The satellite images captured on June 17th and provided to CBS News by Planet Labs show 3 white structures along the most eastern part of its border. The images also reveal that land was cleared for an access road on the North Korean side of the DMZ. While the exact date that construction began is unclear, these structures and roads were not visible in satellite imagery from November 2023. South Korea's military has said North Korea has been increasing construction activity in frontline border areas, including installing suspected anti-tank barriers, reinforcing roads, and planting landmines. And what you're looking at here are some flight paths over the Mediterranean that occurred last night. We had a U.S. Air Force heavy lift cargo plane go down to Amman, Jordan. This is definitely a sign that Israel's about to go into Lebanon if they're sending a C-17 down to the theater there to give Israel supplies, military supplies. We also had this U.S. Navy reconnaissance drone patrolling the coast of Libya, which is pretty interesting. And last night we had an RC-135 reconnaissance plane patrolling this area off the coast of Baja California. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, there was this NOTAM issued in this area stating that Russia was going to be doing missile tests right in this area here where this RC-135 is, okay, Snoop 31. And then they mysteriously canceled the NOTAM, and the U.S. military denied that Russia was doing any kind of missile testing here and that it was just rocket boosters that were going to come crashing down from a space rocket that Russia was going to launch. But interestingly, the NOTAM also was posted for the Barents Sea, and Russia was supposed to do missile tests in the Barents Sea. And then that NOTAM was mysteriously canceled 2 days after it was posted. Well, it turns out that Russia ended up doing those missile tests right off the coast of Norway in the Barents Sea. Okay, so obviously our government doesn't want us to know that Russia's testing missiles right off our shores and right off of NATO shores. Okay, but there was an RC-135 down here. Guys, there's nothing down here, okay, except great white sharks. There's nothing in this area for them to be flying a recon plane back and forth for several hours. Something must have been going on over here, okay, something serious. And here we have some video footage coming out of Russia showing this warehouse or some kind of facility used to store the Iranian Shahed drones that was hit by the Ukrainians the other night. So here you can see on June 22nd, this imagery shows this warehouse completely destroyed. And you can see on April 11th, it was fully intact. And then the Ukrainians just totally leveled it. Okay, so Ukraine is launching very effective strikes deep inside of Russia, and this was in the Krasnodar Krai, okay, which is close to Crimea. And here we have some pictures showing the construction on the DMZ by North Korea. You can see these walls here. They're kind of hard to see, but you can see June 2024. You can see like these three walls that are going up over here. And you can see last year those walls were not there. Okay. And then here's another before and after from November of 2023 till June 2024. You can see this wall here. And that wall did not exist in November. Okay, so North Korea is preparing for war with South Korea, and now that North Korea has the backing of Russia and they signed a mutual defense treaty, Kim Jong-un probably feels like he has big balls because he thinks he can do whatever he wants and Russia's going to back him up. And I want to remind you guys that during the Korean War, which lasted 3 years, Russia and China sent their forces, their regular military forces, into North Korea, and our soldiers and our pilots were engaging with Russian and Chinese soldiers and pilots, okay? American fighter pilots were dogfighting with Russian fighter pilots over the Korean Peninsula for a period of 3 years, okay? So that could happen again, all right? So we have to be on high alert. And 41 Chinese military aircraft and 7 Chinese military naval vessels operated around Taiwan in the last 24 hours, which is a massive amount. And the night before, there were like over 30. So that's like over 70 Chinese aircraft in the last 2 days flying near Taiwan, which is probably close to a record amount for 2024 so far. And China demanded on Friday that the U.S. stop sending weapons and ammunition to Taiwan immediately. And the Chinese Foreign Ministry announced countermeasures on Friday against Lockheed Martin's relevant entities and senior executives for U.S. sales of arms to Taiwan. Okay, so they're going to put sanctions on Lockheed Martin because Lockheed Martin is sending weapons and ammo to Taiwan. And U.S. naval forces in the Indo-Pacific are considering playing a more direct role in Philippine Navy resupply missions to outlying islands in the South China Sea, following the incident which occurred on Monday in which several Filipino resupply vessels and their sailors were attacked by boats of the Chinese Navy, Coast Guard, and Maritime Militia while attempting to resupply the grounded landing ship BRP Sierra Madre on the Second Thomas Shoal, which resulted in injuries to multiple Filipino sailors, including one whose finger was cut off during a scuffle after their vessel was boarded by the Chinese. So very concerning, guys. Okay, the Navy is going to be going to the Philippines to directly back up the Philippines and protect them from these Chinese pirates, essentially, is what they are. Even though they're regular Chinese military, they behave like pirates. And we should have done that a long time ago, guys. We should have done that years ago. We should be backing up the Philippines and all our allies. And it appears that China's largest Coast Guard ship, the CCG 5901, has been deployed in the Malaysian Maritime Zone near the Lucania Shoals in the South China Sea. So it looks like China's reinforcing their presence in the South China Sea. And I want to update you guys on the situation in the Caribbean with these tropical systems. We have one in the Bay of Campeche right now that could potentially threaten southern Texas. It has a 50% chance of development. We have this small system here that just made landfall on the Georgia coast. I don't know if it actually strengthened to a depression or not. Probably not. But that system is no longer a threat. But we have very warm water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico right now. They're over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is plenty warm enough for hurricanes to develop. Here we have the latest satellite imagery of this system here churning in the Bay of Campeche. You can see it's starting to form this circulation here. Okay, so this could potentially develop into another tropical storm. The water temperatures here in the Bay of Campeche are super warm. They're actually the warmest in all of the Gulf. And this is exactly where the last tropical storm developed from, in the same area. So it looks like this one is following in the footsteps of Alberto. So we'll have to monitor it. And here's the latest buoy images from the Bay of Campeche. You can see the seas are starting to get a little bit rough out there. And it looks like there's clouds now starting to develop. So it looks like this system is working its way closer to the center of the Bay of Campeche. But you can see some small white caps here. And we currently have heat advisories in effect for parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, southern New England, and the Mid-Atlantic. So stay cool, guys. Stay indoors. Don't do any kind of hard labor outside today. The heat wave is supposed to break tomorrow at some point. So today will be the last day of this heat wave. And I want to just update you guys on the La Nina situation. So what you see here is a sea surface temperature loop, and you can see this sliver of blue appearing along the equatorial Pacific. And this is exactly what you see when La Ninas develop. You see this cool water over the equatorial Pacific, and this means that the La Nina is strengthening. Okay, so they are expecting a moderate to strong La Nina this fall and winter, which means we're going to have a very strong hurricane season and a very cold and snowy winter in the northern hemisphere. So be prepared for both of those. Lots of strong hurricanes and landfalling hurricanes along the eastern seaboard of the U.S. and in the Gulf, and then very cold northern hemisphere winter with a lot of snow. And here we have the latest models, and they show a pretty strong La Nina this fall. You can see some of these models are going down to almost minus 2 degrees Celsius for the sea surface temperature anomaly. That's 2 degrees Celsius below average, which is a very strong La Nina. Okay, so we could have a very, very serious situation this fall with the hurricane season, and then afterwards a very massive winter with lots of nor'easters and blizzards and polar vortexes. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with more breaking news. If not, I will be back tomorrow. And until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out.